Happy New Year, Sunshinies! If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you enjoy it. It really helps support the channel. Today's story is an enemies to lovers Omegaverse romance. Now, let's begin. The rain wasn't romantic. It wasn't cinematic either. No soft drizzle, no tragic shimmer. It was the kind of rain that slapped you in the face like you owed it money. Neon signs bled into the wet pavement. Cars hissed past. Thunder rolled overhead like the sky was clearing its throat before yelling. And me? I was already soaked, late, and one minor inconvenience away from committing a felony. My jacket was thin. My shoes had officially surrendered. My phone buzzed with a reminder I didn't need. Low balance. Yeah. I know. I'm present. Thank you. I stepped off the curb, splashing through a shallow puddle, muttering to myself about how Omegas statistically have worse luck because the universe hates us specifically. That's when the car hit the big puddle. Not brushed, not splashed, annihilated. A luxury sedan, low, sleek, smug, plowed through the water like it had a personal vendetta against pedestrians. A wall of filthy rainwater rose up and came down directly on me. Head to toe, hair plastered, shirt transparent, dignity drowned. I stood there blinking, water dripping off my nose, my mouth hanging open. Silence. Then I slowly turned my head. The car had stopped. Of course it had, because if you're going to ruin someone's life, you might as well pause to admire your work. Oh, I said out loud very calmly, too calmly. Oh, absolutely not. I bent down and grabbed the nearest thing within reach, a half-full plastic bottle someone had abandoned near a closed street stall. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I launched it. The bottle hit the driver's side window with a loud smack, water exploding across the glass. "Hey!" I shouted, rain pouring down my face. "Congrats! You've officially beefed with a wet Omega!" The door opened. The man stepped out. Tall. Too tall. Dressed like the storm had personally decided to spare him. Dark coat, tailored, unbothered. His hair was dark, damp, but controlled. His face pale in a way that didn't scream sick, just unnaturally untouched. And his eyes, they locked onto me like I'd just solved a puzzle he'd been working on for years. No anger, no irritation, just stillness. That should have been my cue to shut up. It was not. "What?" I snapped, water dripping down my chin. "You planning to apologize, or are you waiting for my villain origin monologue?" He took a step closer. The rain didn't seem to touch him the way it touched me. "I didn't see you," he said calmly. His voice was low, smooth, too composed for someone who'd just soaked a stranger like a street rag. I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not reflective enough? Should I wear a disco ball next time I cross the street?" Something flickered in his expression. Interest. That annoyed me more than the puddle. Up close, he was worse. Expensive coat. Shoes polished enough to reflect my tragic state. He smelled faintly clean despite the rain. Cold air, night rain, something sharp underneath. Alpha, of course. Because alphas always show up when I'm at my lowest like it's a group project. "You should slow down in this weather," he said, tone mild. "Oh my God," I said, rubbing water out of my eyes. "You're right. Thank you. This is a life-changing revelation. Should I also breathe oxygen and avoid open flames?" He tilted his head slightly. That same look, like he was studying me. "Your car," I continued, gesturing wildly, "looks like it costs more than my entire existence, so maybe invest in brakes?" "I apologized," he said. "You said you didn't see me. That's not an apology. That's a weather report." A corner of his mouth twitched. Actually twitched. Oh no. "You're very direct," he said. "I'm soaked," I shot back. "Direct is all I have left." He reached for his coat. "Here we go." "Take it," he said, holding it out. "You'll get sick." I stared at the coat, then at him, then laughed. "No," he blinked. "No," he echoed. "No," I repeated sweetly. "I don't take coats from men who run me over emotionally and hydrologically." His brow furrowed, just a little. "You're bleeding," he said quietly. I glanced down. There was a small scrape on my knuckle. probably from grabbing the bottle too fast. "Relax, Dracula," I said. "It's fine." That did it. Something in him reacted. Not anger, not offense. Something deeper, sharper. For half a second, just half, I could have sworn his gaze dropped to my hand like he wanted to. He inhaled. Hard. Surprised like he had been searching for it. Then stepped back like he'd touched a hot stove. Rainwater slid off my skin and splashed onto his wrist. He hissed, not loudly, but enough, like it burned his skin. Enough that my stomach dropped. "You okay?" I asked, suspicious now. "Yes," he said too quickly. "I should go." Finally. He turned, walking back toward the car. I raised my hand and flipped him off with precision. "Next time," I called after him, "aim for the curb. At least then I'll know you meant it." He paused, looked back once. His eyes met mine through the rain. Not angry, not amused, unsettled. Then he got into the car and drove off. By the time I got home, my clothes were damp, my hair was frizzed beyond saving, and my mood had officially soured into violence. I kicked my shoes off, dropped my bag, and collapsed onto the couch. "Rich freak," I muttered to the ceiling, with staring problems. Alphas always got weird around me. Too intense, too quiet, too interested in ways that made my skin itch. I'd learned to bark first. It usually worked. I grabbed a towel, scrubbing at my hair, replaying the scene in my head. The way he hadn't snapped. The way he'd looked at me like, nope, not thinking about it. Some men were just strange. I went to bed still smelling rain. Across the city, Adrian Hallies sat in his car, knuckles white around the steering wheel. The rain hammered the roof. His wrist burned faintly where the water had touched him. He stared straight ahead, breath slow, controlled, ancient instincts stirring violently in his chest. That scent, not sweet, not submissive, wrong, and familiar in a way that made something old in him wake up. "I found you," he whispered to the empty car, and for the first time in centuries. The hunt did not feel like hunger. It felt like restraint. I was eating noodles straight out of the pot. This detail is important because nothing good ever happens when you're vulnerable and slurping. There was a knock on my door. Not a polite knock, not a sorry to bother you knock, a landlord knock. I didn't even bother pretending I wasn't home. "Yeah," I yelled. "If this is about the rent, I'm alive, which means I know." The door opened without waiting for permission, because of course it did. Mr. Calder, my landlord, stood there smiling like someone who had already won. "Jet," he said cheerfully. "Good news." I stopped slurping. That was my first mistake. "Define good," I said slowly, chopsticks frozen midair. "Because last time you said that, the shower stopped producing hot water and you called it a seasonal adjustment." He laughed. Actually laughed. "I think you'll like this," he said. "I'm bringing in a new tenant." I stared at him. Then I blinked. Then I pointed my chopsticks at his face. "No." He kept smiling. "No," I repeated louder. "Absolutely not. I hate people. This is a hate crime." "It's a 2-bedroom apartment," he said, gesturing vaguely like the walls might suddenly agree with him. "You've been under-occupying it for years. That second room is a storage unit for my emotional baggage. It has a window. It has trauma." He sighed, like I was being unreasonable. "Jet, rent prices are rising. You know that." I narrowed my eyes. "And?" "And this will help you," he said. "Cut your rent in half." I opened my mouth to argue. Then I froze. "Half?" I said. "Yes." I looked down at my noodles. Then at the stack of unpaid bills on the counter. Then at my phone, face down because it had been judging me all day. "How loud is this person?" I asked carefully. "Quiet," he said. "Very respectful. Professional. Suspicious." "What's wrong with him?" I asked. "Nothing." I squinted. "That's worse." Mr. Calder clapped his hands together. "Great. He'll be here tonight." "Tonight? And don't worry," he added quickly. "He already paid first and last month's rent." I dropped my chopsticks. "He what?" Mr. Calder was already backing toward the door. "Welcome to shared living, Jet," he called, retreating like a coward. "You'll love him." The door shut. I stared at it. Then I looked at the pot of noodles. "I folded too fast," I whispered. I spent the next hour pacing, cleaning aggressively, by which I mean I shoved everything I owned into my bedroom and sprayed the living room with enough cleaner to qualify as a chemical attack. I was still wearing pajamas when the knock came again. This one was softer, measured, like someone who understood doors. I opened it without thinking, and there he was, dry, calm, completely unbothered by the fact that we had last seen each other in a rain-soaked verbal homicide. Adrian. He stood in the doorway like he belonged there, dark coat, neatly buttoned, hair perfectly in place. No sign of the storm, no sign of the faint burn I'd seen on his wrist. For half a second, my brain short-circuited. Then it rebooted violently. "Oh no," I said flatly. "Absolutely not." He blinked. "I already baptized you once," I continued. "This feels excessive." "Jet," he said, like my name was something he'd practiced. My stomach did something traitorous. "Why?" I demanded, pointing at him. "Are you here?" "I believe," he said calmly, "I'm your new roommate." I laughed. A real laugh, loud, sharp. "Oh, that's funny," I said. "Did you follow me home out of spite, or is this a rich people scavenger hunt?" He didn't react. That was unsettling. "I'm Adrian," he said, extending a hand. "Adrian Haley's." I stared at his hand, then at his face, then back at his hand. "No," I said. "No?" he echoed. "I don't shake hands with men who turn sidewalks into water parks." A pause. Then, slowly, he lowered his hand. "I didn't realize you lived here," he said. "If I had—" "You still would have soaked me," I interrupted. "You just would have felt bad about it." Something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, not offense. Something like recognition. "Well," he said softly, "I'm human. I make mistakes." My instincts screamed. Not metaphorically, they screamed. Everything in me went tight and alert, like a fire alarm no one else could hear. Human. Sure. "You're very clean for someone who moved in during a storm," I said suspiciously. "I came prepared." "Uh-huh." He stepped inside without waiting for permission. Rude. The apartment felt smaller with him in it, warmer, like the air had thickened around his presence. He looked around slowly, taking in the furniture, the clutter, the mismatched throw pillows. When his gaze landed on me again, it lingered, like I was a thing worth cataloging. I crossed my arms. "If you're going to stare," I said, "at least make it flattering." "You're soaked again," he said instead. "Wow," I replied. "You're observant. Did vampire night classes teach you that?" Another flicker, gone in an instant. "I can leave," he said quietly. That surprised me. My mouth opened automatically. Then my brain caught up. No," I said. "Rent's cheaper now." He inclined his head. "Then I'll stay." I didn't like how calm he sounded about that. I decided immediately that if I was going to be murdered, I was at least going to be organized about it. I grabbed a notepad and slammed it down on the counter. "Rules," I announced. "We're doing rules." Adrian set his bag down carefully. "Of course," he said, like he meant it. I eyed him. "Strike one." "Rule 1, I said, writing aggressively. "You do not touch my stuff." "Understood." "Rule 2, no bringing people over without warning." "Agreed." "Rule 3, no alpha nonsense." He tilted his head. "Define nonsense." "You know exactly what I mean." A pause. Then, "I will be mindful." I didn't like that phrasing. "Rule 4, I continued. "You do not comment on my body, my scent, or my existence." He hesitated, then nodded. "I can do that." "Rule 5, I said. "If you drink my oat milk, I will end you." "I don't drink milk." "Good. Survival instinct." He listened to every word like it mattered. That was the worst part. Most people argued, dismissed, ignored me. Adrian just absorbed it. "Any rules for you?" he asked. I blinked. "What?" "Things I should avoid," he said. So I don't make you uncomfortable. No one had ever asked me that before. I recovered quickly. Just don't be weird or chessy, I said. He smiled faintly. That might be difficult. I snorted despite myself. I knew it. Later, after I barricaded myself in my room, I listened as he moved quietly through the apartment. Too quietly. No heavy footsteps, no clatter, just controlled motion. When I finally peeked out, his door was closed. The apartment felt watched. Inside his room, Adrian removed his coat, then his shirt. He unwrapped the bandages around his wrist slowly. The skin beneath was angry and red, the burn unmistakable. Rainwater still lingered on his memory, which caused these burns. On his tongue. On his hands. He pressed a cloth against the wound, jaw tight. So close, he murmured to himself. He looked at the door separating him from Jet. From the Omega who smelled wrong. Dangerous. Alive. I will behave, Adrian whispered, even as hunger coiled quietly in his chest. I learned 3 important things within the first 48 hours of living with Adrian Haley's. 1. He doesn't sleep like a normal person. 2. He cleans like guilt is a currency. 3. He cooks like he's apologizing to God. Naturally, I declared war. It started with the fridge. I woke up early, because anxiety is my alarm clock, and found the refrigerator reorganized. Not cleaned, reorganized. Shelves aligned, containers labeled, produce sorted by freshness level? My oat milk had been moved. Moved. I stared at it like it had betrayed me. Oh, absolutely not, I muttered. I retaliated by claiming territory. Every shelf? Mine. I shoved my leftovers into every possible space. Half-eaten noodles, takeout boxes, condiments with questionable expiration dates. I placed my oat milk directly in front of everything else. A warning. When Adrian came out of his room, fully dressed like he was about to attend a funeral for productivity, he paused. His gaze landed on the fridge, then on me, then back on the fridge. You reorganized, I said sweetly. I cleaned, he corrected calmly. I reclaimed, I countered. He nodded once. I see. He did not argue. That was unsettling. So I escalated. I played music. Loud. Aggressively loud. The kind of music that rattled windows and made lyrics sound like emotional threats. I sprawled on the couch, feet on the coffee table, phone in hand, blasting bass-heavy chaos. Adrian walked into the living room. Stopped. Listened. He didn't say a word. He simply turned and walked into the kitchen. 5 minutes later, the smell hit me. Garlic, onion, something rich and warm and unfairly comforting. I frowned. 10 minutes later, I was starving. I refused to acknowledge it. Adrian cooked silently. No clanging, no muttering, no background music, just precise movements, knife chopping in even rhythms, pan sizzling gently. I craned my neck, trying not to look obvious. What is that? I demanded, still not turning my music down. Dinner, he said. For who? For whoever eats it. Rude. I turned the music up. He turned the stove down. We did this for 20 minutes. I eventually accidentally knocked over a spice jar while passing through the kitchen. It shattered. Adrian didn't flinch. He crouched immediately, bare hands sweeping glass into a towel. Careful, he said. You'll cut yourself. I scoffed. Relax, I'm durable. His eyes flicked to my hands, lingering. Right? Later, I found the spice jar replaced. Exact brand. Same day. I stared at it. Did you go out? I asked. Just to replace a spice? Yes. You're insane. I like things orderly. I like chaos. Noted. I stole his side of the fridge out of spite. He labeled a new shelf. Jet, please stop. I crossed it out and wrote no. War was officially declared. The thing about alphas is that you feel them before you see them. Pressure, weight, that instinctive pull that says submit or brace. Adrian did none of that, which was wrong. I noticed it one night when I came home late, exhausted, damp from another surprise drizzle. He was in the living room reading. The lights were low. He looked up as I passed. Normally, that should have been it. Instead, I paused, because his scent brushed past me. Not heavy, not sharp, no dominant spike. It smelled like night air, rain-soaked stone, something cool and quiet that slid under my skin and settled. My shoulders dropped. I hated it. I stopped walking. He noticed immediately. "Are you all right?" he asked. I turned slowly. "Why do you smell like that?" He blinked. "Like what?" "Like a forest that minds its business." That earned me a pause. "I don't understand." "That makes two of us," I muttered. I watched his throat move as he swallowed. Something changed in his expression. Not fear, confusion. On his end, something was also wrong. I didn't know it yet, but I felt it, because alphas usually reacted to me. Heat spike, possessiveness, hunger. My mom said that I have special blood to which alphas get easily attracted, and I can't let any alpha bite me. Adrian didn't. He watched me like he was watching fire through glass. Interested, careful, contained. "Do I bother you?" he asked quietly. I opened my mouth automatically, then stopped. "No," I said slowly. "Which is the problem?" He studied me. "I don't feel compelled," he admitted. That should have made me feel safer. Instead, it made my skin prickle. "Compelled to what?" I asked. He didn't answer. We stood there, tension humming. Two anomalies staring at each other like the universe had misplaced us. "Well," I said finally, crossing my arms. "Congratulations. You're the least alpha I've ever met." His lips curved faintly. "I'll take that as praise." I didn't know why that made my stomach flip. The storm came back 3 nights later. Not as violent, but persistent. Wind howling, rain tapping insistently. I was halfway through reheating leftovers when the lights went out. Everything went black. "Perfect," I muttered. "Love a dramatic blackout." Before I could reach for my phone, candles flared to life. Not one, 3. Soft, steady flames blooming around the room. I froze. Slowly turned. Adrian stood near the counter, candle in hand. Another already lit. He hadn't hesitated, hadn't fumbled. Just acted. Too fast. Too practiced. "Wow," I said. "That was either very prepared or very Dracula." He froze. The candle trembled slightly in his grip. He started. I waved a hand. "Kidding," I said lightly. "Relax. You just have strong haunted mansion energy." He didn't laugh, didn't move. The air thickened. I tilted my head. "You okay?" "Yes," he said, then quieter. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For making you uncomfortable." That stopped me. I hadn't said I was. I leaned against the counter. "Look," I said, shrugging. "You're weird, but so am I. I once argued with a parking meter. We'll survive." His gaze softened. Not smiled, softened. "If I were a monster," he said quietly, voice low and steady, "I'd still ask before touching you." The room went very still. I blinked, then snorted. "Oh my God," I said. "Is that your serial killer manifesto?" He didn't smile. "I mean it." That made my chest do something annoying. I waved it off, grabbing a fork. "Cool speech," I said, still not sharing my leftovers. He nodded. "I wouldn't dream of it." The light stayed off. The candles flickered. I ate standing up. He stayed where he was, respecting space. That was worse than pressure. Later in bed, I stared at the ceiling. Annoyed, confused, comforted, which was illegal. Somewhere down the hall, Adrian stood in the dark of his room, hands clenched, hunger silent, heart louder than it had been in centuries. "I will behave," he whispered again, and meant it. It was stupid. Every bad thing in my life starts with "it was stupid." I was opening a can, soup, cheap, discount aisle, questionably labeled. The can opener slipped, the metal bit back. "Ow! Shit!" I dropped the can, clutching my finger as red welled up immediately. Not a lot. Not dramatic. Just enough to sting and annoy me. Fantastic, I muttered. I am once again defeated by household objects. Before I could even reach for a towel. The air changed. Not temperature. Pressure. Like something invisible had inhaled sharply behind me. I turned. Adrian was standing in the doorway. Too still. His pupils had blown wide, swallowing the pale gray of his irises. His chest rose once, deep, involuntary. He stared at my hand, at the blood. And for half a second, he wasn't Adrian. He moved, fast, not a blur, but wrong. The space between us folded. His hand was suddenly braced against the counter beside me, body angled close, head dipping. His mouth opened. I saw them. Fangs. Not movie ridiculous. Not dramatic. Just there. Sharp. Real. Too close. Oh, I said weakly. That's new. The world snapped back into focus. Adrian froze. Every muscle in his body locked like steel cables pulled tight. His breath hitched violently, shoulders trembling as if he were holding back a storm inside his chest. He jerked away like he'd been burned. I'm sorry, he said hoarsely. He turned his face away, hands gripping the counter so hard the wood creaked. I pressed my bleeding finger into my shirt automatically, heart hammering. Well, I said, voice shaking only a little. That escalated faster than my student loan interest. He let out a sound, half growl, half gasp. I need you to step back, he said. Please. That did it, that single word. Please. Not command, not alpha voice. Fear. I took a step back, wrapped my finger in a towel. My mind was racing, connecting dots I'd been aggressively ignoring. The rain, the burn, the scent, the way he moved, the candles, his ugly dark aesthetics, the teeth. Adrian slid down the cabinet, ending up kneeling on the kitchen floor like he'd just narrowly avoided committing a crime. I won't hurt you, he said. I swear it. I stared at him, kneeling, shaking, terrified. Well, I said finally, on the bright side, I now know why you don't drink oat milk. Silence stretched. The storm outside rattled the windows like it wanted commentary. I leaned back against the counter, cradling my finger, watching him carefully. So, I said after a moment, tone dry as toast. So, vampire. He flinched. That explains the staring, I continued. The drama. The whole, I don't sleep, but I do brood thing. He lifted his head slowly, didn't deny it, didn't rush to explain. Just looked at me. Yes, he said quietly. There it was. No thunder, no denial, no flashy reveal. Just truth. How old? Don't tell me you're 1,000 years old vampire, uncle, I asked. Older than this city, he replied. Figures. I sighed, rubbing my face with my free hand. Okay, I muttered. Okay, that's a lot. But also, weirdly, not the weirdest thing that's happened to me this year. His brow furrowed slightly. You're calm. Incorrect, I said. I am aggressively dissociating. A pause. Then, carefully, he stood. Slow. Controlled. Like he was afraid sudden movement might shatter me. I won't feed on you, he said. I never intended to. You just almost did, I pointed out. Yes, he said. And that's why I needed you to know. He took a step back, increasing the distance deliberately. I am a vampire, he continued. An alpha. I've been alive a very long time. I've done things. I snorted. Oh, good. Crimes or a serial killer? I won't justify them, he said. I won't minimize them. He met my eyes fully now. I moved in to protect you. That landed heavier than the fangs. From what? I asked. Others like me, he said. I studied his face. No hunger now, no dominance. Just something like regret. Are you going to kill me? I asked flatly. No. Are you going to hypnotize me? No. Turn me? No. Eat me in my sleep? No. I tilted my head. Are you going to keep kneeling dramatically like a Gothic apology statue? A flicker of something, amusement, crossed his face. If that helps you feel safer, he said, I will. I huffed a laugh despite myself. Don't tempt me. He went still again. I will wait, he said simply, for whatever decision you make. No threat, no pressure, just waiting. That scared me more than the teeth. I took a breath, then another. Okay, I said. Here's how this is going to go. Adrian straightened instantly, focused, listening. I pointed at him with my towel-wrapped finger. Rule 1. You do not feed on me, ever. Not a sip, not a taste test, not a just this once. I swear it, he said immediately. Rule 2. No compulsion, no mind stuff, no emotional manipulation. If I feel weird, we're done. I wouldn't dare. Rule 3, I continued, voice firmer now. You do not touch me without permission, ever. He nodded once, reverently. As you wish. The way he said it, soft, sincere, made my stomach flip, annoying. Rule 4, I added quickly. If you go full monster mode again, you tell me, no sneaking around. I will, he promised. I lowered my hand. Rule 5, I said more quietly. If you ever decide I'm safer without you here, you leave. No martyr nonsense. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. I will respect that. Silence fell again. I realized then that my hands were shaking, that my heart was still racing, that I should be angry, I should be terrified. Instead, I felt seen. I don't hate you, I said suddenly. The words slipped out before I could stop them. His eyes widened just a fraction. That complicates things, he murmured. I laughed, brittle. Don't get excited, I'm still deciding if I tolerate you. That is more than I deserve, he said softly. And that was the moment my brain panicked, because monsters weren't supposed to sound like that. I retreated toward my room, pointing at him. We're not friends, I warned. Understood. We're not anything. I know. And if you sparkle, I added, I'm setting you on fire and do hula-hula dance around you. A faint smile touched his lips. I'll keep the curtains closed. I shut my door, collapsed onto my bed, stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. I do not like this, I whispered. Down the hall, Adrian stood alone in the kitchen, blood scent finally fading. He pressed a hand over his chest. Not hunger, not dominance. Something far more dangerous. Reverence. I will protect him, he whispered into the quiet apartment. Even if it destroyed me. I was folding laundry. This is important, because nothing traumatic ever announces itself properly. It always shows up when you're doing something aggressively normal. Socks, a hoodie, a shirt Adrian had accidentally shrunk and apologized for like he'd committed arson. The window was open. The night air was cool. Quiet. Too quiet. That's when the scent hit. Not Adrian, not calm night rain. This was rot. Old blood. Old power. Hunger without restraint. My Omega instinct screamed so loud I dropped the shirt. Well, I muttered, heart pounding. That's creative. I turned, and the man was already inside the apartment. He hadn't broken a window, hadn't kicked in a door. He just was there. Tall, sharper featured than Adrian, eyes glowing faintly red, smile lazy and cruel. Found you, he said pleasantly. Took longer than expected. My mouth opened automatically. Cool, I said. Do you want a tour, or are you here to murder me immediately? He laughed, a low, delighted sound. Oh, you're funny, he said. That explains why Adrian's gone soft. My stomach dropped. You know Adrian, I said. Know him? He stepped closer. I helped raise him. That did it. My body reacted before my brain. I grabbed the nearest thing, a lamp, and swung. He caught it easily. Cute, he said, but unnecessary. Then he leaned in and inhaled. His pupils blew wide. His smile vanished. What? He whispered. Are you? I took a step back. I'm busy, I said. Come back never. He lunged. Pain exploded across my shoulder as he grabbed me, teeth scraping my skin. And then he screamed. Not theatrically, not loud, internally. like something had ignited inside him. His grip loosened. Smoke, actual smoke, curled from his mouth. He staggered back, clutching his chest. "No," he gasped. "That's impossible." His skin blistered, cracked, like something was burning him from the inside out. I watched in frozen horror as he collapsed to his knees, clawing at his throat. "I'm burning," he choked. "Adrian, what did you—" He never finished the sentence. His body convulsed once, then went still. Ash scattered across my floor. I stared. My hands were shaking. My chest hurt. I whispered. "I didn't—" The room tilted. The last thing I saw was the ash drifting like snow. Then darkness took me. I woke up in my bed. Soft sheets. Cool air. Adrian was sitting on the floor beside me, back against the bed, head bowed. He looked wrecked. Blood stained his sleeves, not mine. His hands were clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. "You fainted," he said quietly. "You're safe." I swallowed. My throat burned. "Define safe," I croaked. He didn't answer immediately. I pushed myself up onto my elbows. "He died," I said. "Yes." "Because of me." "Yes." I laughed weakly. "Oh my God," I whispered. "That's not great." Adrian turned toward me fully. His eyes were dark, heavy. "I need to tell you the truth," he said. "I'm sensing a theme." He inhaled slowly. "Your bloodline," he began, "was created to kill my kind." That snapped me fully awake. "Excuse me?" "Not all vampires," he clarified. "The old ones. Kings, tyrants, those who fed without restraint." He looked at his hands. "Your blood burns us. From the inside, it rejects dominance, hunger, ownership." I stared at him. "So," I said faintly, "I'm vampire poison." "You're a safeguard," he said. "You were never meant to exist alone." My chest tightened. "And you destroyed them, my bloodline," I said quietly. "Yes." No excuses. No deflection. Just truth. "I hunted your bloodline centuries ago," Adrian said, "because they threatened the order we built." I laughed. Sharp, bitter. "Order," I repeated. "Right." "I didn't know you survived," he continued. "When I smelled you in the rain, I realized—" "You realized I was a walking extinction event," I finished. "Yes." Silence swallowed the room. "And you moved in," I said slowly, "to protect me." "Yes. And also," I added, voice trembling with anger, "to decide if I deserved to live." He met my eyes. "Yes." Something inside me cracked. I sat up fully. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, from rage. "So let me get this straight," I said, voice sharp. "You splashed me with a car, followed me home, moved into my apartment, pretended to be human, and all this time—" "I never intended to harm you," he said quickly. "Oh, spare me," I snapped. "You intended to evaluate me like a science project. That's not—" "You knelt in my kitchen," I said, cutting him off. "You swore you'd protect me. You looked me in the eye and said you'd never hurt me." His jaw tightened. "And the whole time," I continued, sarcasm turning vicious, "you were deciding whether I should exist." "I chose you," he said hoarsely. I laughed, a cruel sound. "You don't get points for that," I said. "You don't get to play hero after centuries of genocide." His shoulders sagged. "I know." I leaned forward. My voice dropped. "You don't get to love me," I said slowly, clearly, "just because you regret killing people like me." That did it. Something shattered in his expression. Not anger, not defensiveness. Devastation. He looked away, jaw clenched, breath uneven. "I never expected forgiveness," he said quietly. "I only wanted to keep you alive." "Well, congratulations," I snapped. "You succeeded, and now I want you gone." He stood, moved to the door, paused. "I will leave," he said, "if that's what you want." I turned my face away. "Get out," I whispered. He hesitated once, then left. The door clicked shut. I collapsed back onto the bed, staring at the ceiling. My body burned. My blood burned. And for the first time in my life, I understood why. Living with Adrian after telling him to get out was awkward, which is a polite way of saying it felt like emotionally haunting a house with the world's hottest ghost. He didn't leave. He respected my words too literally. He stopped touching shared space unless necessary, stopped standing too close, stopped existing loudly. He slept during the day now, left before sunset, came back quietly like he didn't deserve to take up air. It was infuriating. I coped by becoming meaner. "Wow," I said one morning, staring at the clean sink. "You missed a spot." He paused mid-step. "I'll fix it." I was kidding. I know. That made it worse. I stopped eating what he cooked. He kept cooking anyway. Left meals covered, warm, untouched. I threw one out. He didn't comment. I turned the music up at night. He wore noise-canceling headphones. I snapped one evening, slamming my mug down. "Do you enjoy martyrdom?" I demanded. "Or is this a new hobby?" He looked at me then, really looked. "I enjoy knowing you're alive," he said softly. "Everything else is secondary." I hated that my throat closed up. I hated that I missed him standing too close. I hated that he still smelled like night rain, but now it came with something gentler underneath. Want. Not hunger. Want. One night, during another storm, the power flickered. I froze, not from fear of the dark, from memory. Adrian stood across the room. Didn't move, didn't reach for candles, just waited. "You can light them," I muttered. "Only if you want," he replied. I exhaled. "You can light them." He did, slowly, deliberately. Not instinct, permission. That was when I realized I was losing. The council found us. They didn't knock. They arrived. The air thickened, the lights dimmed, shadows bent wrong. 3 of them stood in the living room like bad omens in expensive coats, ancient, cold, hungry. Adrian stepped in front of me instantly, protective, feral. "This ends now," one of them said. "The Omega is a weapon. He must be destroyed." I scoffed. "Wow," I muttered. "Straight to murder. No small talk." Adrian didn't look back at me. "He stays," Adrian said. "You defy us?" "Yes. You will lose everything." "I already have," Adrian said quietly. They laughed. Then one of them spoke the words that shattered centuries of power. "Okay, if you insist, there is a way." Adrian went still. "The ritual," the council said. "Renounce the blood, renounce eternity, become mortal, and form a bond with him." My heart slammed. "No," I said immediately. "Absolutely not. That's insane." Adrian turned to me. For the first time, he didn't look haunted. He looked decided. "I choose him," he said. They hissed. "You'll die." "Eventually," he agreed. "But I will live first." The ritual was violent, not flashy, painful. Blood burned out of him. Power screamed free. I held his hand while he shook, teeth clenched, body convulsing. I yelled. I cursed. I cried like an idiot. When it was over, he collapsed. Alive. Breathing. Human. The council said, "You have vampire blood. Even after this ritual, you can't mate with this Omega having vampire poison blood unless you are his true soulmate and the bond forms. Then only this Omega can be spared, which is impossible." They mocked us, and then the council vanished. The room smelled like ash and rain. I dropped to my knees beside him. "You idiot," I whispered, shaking. "You absolute—" He reached up weakly, brushing his thumb against my wrist. "Worth it," he murmured. That's when I knew I was done fighting this. He healed slowly, too slowly, human slow, which terrified me. One night I sat on the edge of the bed watching him sleep. He looked different, softer, less sharp, still beautiful, annoyingly so. I took a breath. "This is stupid," I said aloud. He stirred. "Jet?" I swallowed. "You chose me," I said, "so now I choose you." He sat up immediately, concern etched across his face. "Jet, you don't owe me—" "I know," I cut in. "That's why this matters." I held out my wrist. Clean. "On my terms," I said. You stop if I say stop. You don't dominate. You don't take. He stared at me like I'd handed him a star. I'm no longer a vampire, he said carefully. I know, I replied, but you're still you. His voice shook. Jet, if this hurts you? It won't, I said. Trust me. He leaned in slowly, asked with his eyes. I nodded. His teeth pierced my skin gently. No fire, no burn, no intoxication, just warmth, connection, something settling into place like the click of a lock. He pulled back instantly, eyes wide. You're fine, he whispered. I know, I said softly. And you're still here. Something pulsed between us. Not dominance, not hunger. The bond forms. Adrian pressed his forehead to mine, trembling. I am your soulmate, but I didn't love you because we are fated. I choose you, he said reverently. I laughed weakly. Yeah, I whispered. I noticed. Outside, the storm passed. Inside, for the first time, nothing burned. Adrian slept like he'd lost a fight with gravity, flat on his back, one arm half off the bed, hair a mess. Breathing uneven but real, human, real. I hovered, which was stupid, because hovering is how feelings sneak in. You look ridiculous, I told him quietly. He didn't respond. Rude. The ritual had taken more out of him than either of us had admitted. Immortality, apparently, came with perks like not nearly dying from standing too fast. Now he was pale in a way that screamed, needs soup. I sighed and rolled up my sleeves. Congratulations, I muttered. You're officially my problem. Caretaking turned out to be less dramatic than I'd expected and more irritating. Water every hour. Food he barely touched. Blankets adjusted constantly because he couldn't regulate temperature yet. He woke up once, blinking slowly, clearly disoriented. Jet, he murmured. Yes, Sleeping Beauty, I said. You're still alive. Try not to faint about it. He smiled faintly. That smile should have been illegal. I shoved a mug into his hands. Drink, I ordered. What is it? Broth. Homemade? Don't flatter yourself. It came from a packet and resentment. He sipped anyway. I don't deserve this, he said quietly. You're right, I replied, but I'm doing it anyway. That shut him up. Good. Later, when he tried to stand on his own and nearly tipped over, I caught him automatically. He froze. So did I. His weight was warm, solid, human. Don't get weird, I said, tightening my grip. If you fall, I'll say, I told you so at your funeral. He laughed weakly. I wouldn't dare. Domestic softness crept in through the cracks. Blankets. Quiet music. Him watching me like every mundane thing I did was sacred. I hated it. I loved it. I pretended it was just logistics. The vampires didn't come back. Word traveled fast when a king broke his own crown. The council scattered. The threat evaporated like mist in sunlight. Which meant, Adrian needs to announce to all vampires. Adrian insisted. Visibility matters now, he said. They need to see the choice. Other vampires should know my choice. Fantastic, I muttered. I love being perceived. We stood in the courtyard of one of those neutral territories, old stone, iron lanterns, echoes of things that refused to die quietly. Several vampires lingered at the edges, watching, assessing. Adrian stood beside me, not in front, not behind, beside. He looked different. No aura pressing down, no supernatural weight, just a man with scars he didn't hide. He took my hand. I flinched instinctively, then relaxed, because it felt right. This is Jet, Adrian said clearly, voice carrying. My chosen Omega. A ripple moved through the gathered crowd. I raised a finger. Correction. Adrian glanced at me. Partner, I said firmly. I bite back. A few vampires actually laughed. Adrian smiled. Full, unapologetic. Yes, he agreed. My partner. He squeezed my hand gently, checking in. I squeezed back. That was the claim. No dominance, no mark, no blood, just choice. Someone hissed from the shadows. You gave up eternity for that? Adrian didn't even look at them. I gave it up for love, he said calmly. And consent. The silence that followed was louder than any roar. We left together, unbothered, unchased, free. It rained again that night. Soft this time, gentle, the kind that cleans instead of punishes. We stood on the balcony, wrapped in the same blanket. Adrian leaned on the railing, watching the street below like he was learning how to exist in it. "I don't hear everything anymore," he said quietly. "Welcome to being normal," I replied. "It sucks. There's paperwork." He smiled, turned to me, careful. "May I?" he asked. I rolled my eyes. "Yes." He kissed me like he was afraid of doing it wrong. Slow, intentional, warm, human. I rested my forehead against his. Rain tapped around us. I exhaled. "I threw water at a monster," I murmured, watching the rain blur the lights below, "and got a man who asks before loving me." I glanced up at him. "Honestly?" I smirked. "Worth it." He said, "Let me show how to love my darling." And then he kissed me hard. The rain kept falling. Home, for once, wasn't quiet, and I didn't want it to be.